Alkilas! What's going on, my high vibrational individual expressions of God on earth? This is your boy, Dr. Will Rogers, a.k.a. Master Teacher 33. This is the intro to the new series. Starts, we may move it back to Monday. I'm having a few people that let me know they want to join in last minute. So we probably won't start on Sunday. I think I'm going to move it back to Monday. We'll start the new series. We're going to be breaking down the chemistry, the biology of the I am statement. My brothers and my high vibrational sisters, just like the last series and every series I've ever done since the beginning of time, you do not want to miss this mind-blowing series. In this series, oh, by the way, just got back. So thank you guys for your patience. And I forgot to bring my I have a extended, what do they call it, external hard drive. It has all my books and all my stuff. It's like 5 terabytes, 10 terabytes worth of information. Well, up to 10. I think like 5 on there. Anyway, it has all my stuff on there. So that's why I have not been able to send out the books and stuff. But, hey, I'm going to get to it today, tomorrow. We got time, right? But this next series I'm so excited about because it ties into the series that we just finished. They're both the same, actually. Again, registration is $99 early, $199 after tomorrow. For all of my 20,000 K members, no additional charge. Again, only for the $20,000 group. For everybody else, it's 50% off. So instead of $199, it's only $99 to join the new series that starts on, I think we will start it on a Monday instead of Sunday. And what's the hype behind this series? Man, when you understand the chemistry of the human brain, when you make a statement like, I am, and then you start to see the cosmic death code that we just talked about, it works on the same purpose. I just got home, so I'm kind of unpacking and talking at the same time. So once you understand that your brain collapses waves unconsciously, but you can consciously override the unconscious reticular activating system that uses a certain chemistry that's on the periodic table that is under a specific code because the atomic number is not used. Instead, the atomic mass. So we want to talk about atomic or the adapa mass or matter. This next series is how a matter or mass is formulated on a quantum unconscious subatomic level. The stuff that we'll be talking about, I have not heard taught. It was written about by Nikola Tesla. I have not heard Nikola Tesla, this is a secret that he talks about when he talks about the number 369. But everybody thinks it's talking about the numerology of that number. And it is. But the numerology of the number is not the only thing that it's talking about. Like everything, there's layers to this game. So he had to hide the truth in plain sight to keep from drawing the attention of the dominant culture that would put him in 6 feet under the ground faster. No, he still got there. And the FBI raided his hotel room upon his transitioning, and you guys know they took all of his stuff and they classified all of his stuff. So that way the general public, people like you and I, we don't have access to Nikola Tesla's frequencies, waves, and vibrations. And so it took me years and years of really sitting down and dwelling and delving into the hidden esoteric, because most of these people taught because they didn't want to hide the information. They just wanted to stay alive. If your life was on the line, you would talk in circles or in codes too. If somebody was threatening to kill your family, you would not put your family in harm's way knowingly. So I didn't really understand. I thought this secret society, all secret societies went underground after threat of life. We would not have no secret society if there wasn't a threat, because the knowledge that they were sharing was a threat to dethroning or removing the control system of the powers that be. Once you understand that okay, because it took me a while to understand, why did Jesus talk in parables? Why did he pull the disciples aside and say, hey, for you it is to know, but for everybody else, not so much? How come he didn't want everybody to know? He knew that everybody was not at the level where there is no devil. More importantly, he knew that everybody didn't want to be at that level. There's a lot of people who are very happy, doing the Luciferian agenda, like abusing kids and freaking drinking adrenochrome and promoting and marrying and intermingling with technology to try to establish their longevity, because they don't want to do it source code way. So source code set up a system that allows you to collapse waves with your chemistry and with your biology by getting into what we talked about yesterday and the day before, which is the ability to evolve your consciousness or to move your consciousness forward using what is called a HOLON, which is let's use the word halon. In the Greek, it's HOLOS, halos, which means whole. And that was a great book that I told you guys about, written by a guy by the name of Herbert Simon. Another guy's name was Arthur Koestler, that talks about this fractal halonic system that collapses waves by examining or doing an analysis of the hierarchies of all possible positions. And through the process of observation, you can collapse a complex system into a simple system, and you can amplify a simple system into a complex system. Its ability to as above, so below. So they looked at the atomic and the molecular structure of organisms and social organizations. And they was able to identify certain attributes and characteristics, and they used the term, holon, which describes let's use the word hybrid nature that exists in all systems. And so these holons are self-reliant units that possess different degrees of independence, and they can handle different degrees of complexities without asking for authorities or for higher instruction. They have a total degree of autonomy that allows them to exercise, carry out instructions, create what is called stable forms without any assistance needed or without any disturbance. So they were single standing column of self-regulating holons. They were able to function autonomously exactly like the whole, even though it's separated from the whole. In other words, they were able to function exactly like God, even though you separated from God. And they were able to break this down into a self-organizing structure. The self-organizing holar instead of solar is HOLAR. And the term is called an SOHO system. And we're going to be breaking down a self-organizing Solon system, SOHO system. This is how the smallest subatomic particles tap into a vibrational string in the multiverse and drop it down to a universe. In other words, an individual human, an individual particle, an individual person, an individual place, an individual thing, an individual society, an individual culture. You go into the unlimited realm and you want to tap into one particular note, one particular frequency, one particular wave, one particular vibration, and you want to collapse that wave. So we won't get into talking about it because, again, we already talked about it before. Now we're just going deeper down the rabbit trail and getting into what some people call quantum computing, which is the way by which computers work, or the way by you and I are able to tap into the absolute of the all. And again, all of this is just a fancy way of explaining and giving you more of the biology behind collapsing waves. Because the more you understand it, the higher you have consciousness of it. The higher consciousness you have, the more you are able to operate and to control, again, the nano structures that are below the threshold of most people's understanding. So when things are not appearing real, you don't panic. You don't worry. You don't stress because you can see the invisible realm. And on a subatomic realm, you can literally see you're promoting the overall brain health and the molecular structure of the brain because now you understand the chemistry and how these neural activation patterns, these naps, take place to unveil a distinctive activation pattern. So you'll have a feeling. This feeling that you will be having is what they call a glutamaterianic or materic projection. It's just the word like the word glutamine. It's spelled gluta, Gluta, and the word basically material. So it's how your neurons in your cortex is creating an activation pattern that activates specific neurons to basically assist brain function. So that's a fancy way of saying every time you say the word I am blank. That's why when you say, that's why when you say that word, it collapses the wave. And most people, so most people, really have a hard time, not really a hard time, but, when it comes to understanding the structure of how all of this takes place. Now, this series will have a little bit more of what, we call science into it, because I want to get into breaking down, trying to talk around it without really just, saying it. So the most important thing that everybody has to understand is that even though we're talking about, the distinct activation patterns that take place, we are simply still expressing the fact that everybody has a way that they're designed by God. I just happen to call it, Dear Canary reports. It's just a way that your brain collapses waves. And so you want to do this in a manner that allows you to have self-accountability. Simply means that you understand the importance of recognizing how you are responsible for your actions. By the acknowledgement, of your mistakes and your successes. Setting goals, staying focused, staying disciplined, all of that's part of activating, again, the I am statement. That simply means that you're going to develop a new personality. You're going to take ownership, set goals, stay focused. All of these things will become a whole lot easier when you're able to do what is called self-actualization. So self-actualization is nothing but the realization of your own potential and how do you establish this self-actualizing, independent, self-directed manifester or creator. And when we get into understanding the science behind these two frequencies, waves and vibrations, we're going to get into, the I that we talked about before, and you guys can go on the Facebook page and you can see what I mean. We're just simply talking about, what we call iodine. So we got to go into and behind the scenes of this thing that we call iodine, and to over and understand, okay, what is it? Because, we're going to look at the health benefits and so on and so forth, but we want to get into the chemistry behind it. And then there's another enzyme molecule that was discovered called, I'm going to use the word Americus, which is pretty close to the correct pronunciation of that particular element. That is, again, on the periodic table. We're going to look at that particular element that is on the periodic table that does or releases a specific atomic mass or an atomic structure. And how does that atomic mass or atomic structure affect human knowledge? How does it collapse waves? And, we're going to get into what is it, why is it important, why did Nikola Tesla establish his entire, let's use the word ministry, off of the number 126 and the number 243 that give us the number 369. Why did he say 369 is so important? We're going to get into over understanding that the greatest secret to man is the understanding whatever is behind that particular frequency, wave, and vibration, 369, which is the the iodine, and the Americium. That's how you say it, Americium. And both of these, everybody's heard of iodine, but how does it affect the brain? We've all heard of a lot of other frequencies, waves, and vibrations. I've never heard of Americium. I've heard of a lot of different words for, America, and different pronunciations for the word America, like Amerikka and other things like that. But I never got into this metal. Remember, the word metal is always associated with the word mental. So even though we're going to be talking about it, keep in mind that I'm always and then this is only a 3-day series. So we're talking about mentals. So everything that we're going to be talking about for the next 3 days, same thing I talk about pretty much on every show. So it's no different. But even though on the surface, because remember, they hide wherever they are, the truth in plain sight. So even though on the surface you will not be able to find very much informing about these two frequencies, waves, and vibrations on the internet. This information is available. Again, most of this was passed down by what they call the oral tradition. I mean, a lot of this stuff wasn't written down. And a lot of this stuff came to me intuitively. But like everything, I'm not going to get out here and start talking about it and start sharing it and start teaching it to other people until I actually implement it, use it, and manifest it in my own life. And so now that I've been doing that and been getting great results, and now getting a deeper understanding, now that I'm on the other side of the I am statement. I've always lived on the right of the I am statement in the blank. I am rich. I always lived there. I am healthy. Bam. My I am statement was always, I am a particle. I never, ever, up until recently, start seeing myself as a wave. To my knowledge, I don't know no one who sees themselves honestly when you understand the molecular structure of a wave who would say that I am Americium. No, because again, when we talk about that, when you look it up and you Google it, it's not really on the surface a benevolent term. It is actually a radioactive chemical. And so when we look at and we talk about radioactivity, it does cause some, let's use the word, esoteric, for lack of a better term, damages on a molecular level. But during this series, remember, we're talking about mentalism. And we're talking about the atomic model of how iodine and americium affects when it comes to you dropping down specific pieces that you want to experiment. And so this element, and remember, an element is an elemental. An elemental is an E-L-ment. It is a mental Elohim, an etheric entity. But as you will see, these entities are only produced when there is a nuclear reaction. They produce what is called an isotope. All of these are terms, labels, and limits that we must, again, break down so that way you are able to understand, because on the surface, it seems like this next series is just talking about two chemicals that may and may not have some, health benefits to the human body. We're talking about the power of these, the chemistry and the biology that is a result of your mentality. So what we'll be focused on for the next 3 days, and again, cost, there's no charge for everybody's part of the $20,000 system. It's $99 for everybody that's a member of or who've taken the previous class that we just finished, Qubit Science, or if you're a member of the Kingdom Millionaires program that we're going through. It's only $99 instead of $199. We will start the class it started on Monday instead of on Sunday, because today's already Saturday, to give everybody time to get their pennies together and all that good stuff. You can do, like we always do, 50% now, 50% later, whatever. You just want to be a part of this class. The biggest takeaway from this class, the smoking gun, if you want to use that term. Like, at the end of the day, what's the purpose? The purpose is for you to understand the element of expectation that is required. Because look at the word, we're talking about an element. So there is a specific element. These two elements are required in order for your expectation to be manifested. In other words, it takes a whole lot longer if you go through the natural manifestation process than it does that if you understand how to use elementals. So remember, an element on the periodic table has a specific amount of atomic mass. But the word atomic is the word atom or atom, and atom is Adama. So we're talking about the mass, which is matter, that comes from an atom. And so we're looking at atoms are made up of subatomic particles. So these subatomic particles create a biological and a chemical reaction that creates or assists with your expectation. So we're going to look at the science and the biology behind how the mind can be enhanced by this powerful combination for building energy, aka entity. So Nikola Tesla developed a template by which he used to pull unlimited energy out of the matrix of reality. In other words, he put unlimited energy out of what we would call thin air. But he was manipulating the I am mental state. Now, we say it verbally, but most of us don't understand what we're saying mentally. That's the purpose of the class. The purpose of the class is for us to go to behind the scenes of this I am statement, to get into the science of how we are able to, when we say I am Blake, how we are creating a highly radioactive element that is dangerous if handled incorrectly and can cause severe illness and disappointment. The way I was doing when I first started saying, man, I am. So now that I understand the science, the chemistry behind it, a simple I am statement, that it creates what is called a plutonium-based nuclear reactor. So on the surface, we understand what that means because we're talking about a nuclear power plant, blah, blah, blah. But the word nuclear simply means nuclear or nuclei. So what we're talking about really is how to use atom, A-D-A-M, who's called ADAPA in the original text, and the protons, neutrons, and electrons, specifically the protons inside of the nucleus, to actually create what is called density, 3D matter. Basically, when you move protons, neutrons, electrons around, when you add one and take one away, certain things happen. So we're going to be talking about it from a mental perspective. When you add one thought and you take one thought away, we're going to be breaking down the science of what happens to the brain by simply adding thought and taking thought away. Because again, everybody do it. Man, we do this all day, every day. It's like we have thoughts and we take thoughts away. Not knowing that having thoughts, taking thoughts, does, let's use the word positive, negative, or has the potential for positive and negative. And how can we consciously use this to benefit us when it comes to the creative process, especially this creative process that we call man I fest. It means you want to feast as a man. So this series is about, okay, how do we feast while we're living in man, a.k.a. matter? How do we feast? In other words, how do you live the life of your dreams? How do you get things to collapse? How do you get waves to collapse? You know, we're not talking about the Ebenezer Baptist way of getting things done. How do we collapse these waves exponentially? How do we speed up this process so that way it's a natural expression of the soul? So what we're talking about is the fact that, hey, there is a way by which we are able to naturally, automatically collapse what we call waves. Now, remember, going back to what we said at the beginning of this message today, a wave is just nothing but strings of vibration. Now, think about that for a moment. The multiverse is a bandwidth. We have to start thinking like we think material realm is physical when actually it's a specific station, a particle, 98.5. I love the radio analogy. This really changed my life when I understood that we're talking about one radio station. So what Tesla did was, which was profound, Tesla figured out there is a truth frequency that it allowed for a higher contact of perception with truth. Truth is the solution to everything, truth being source. So he only sought to establish what was the radio station, what was the bandwidth, what was the electrical magnetic frequency of I am. And when he was able to connect with the bandwidth or with the frequency of these two mental states. Now, for us, we don't think that the word element. So the element of expectation is what we're talking about today. That's what this whole series is about. The element of expectation. In other words, expectation is made up of two elements. I am. Now, these elements, what do they do to the brain? When you say I am, you automatically, what follows that is an expectation. That word is, we're looking at the chemistry and the biology behind one word, expectation. So what is that? And what does it do? If you have a expectation, what do you have? Now, if you really have an expectation, what you have is the molecular structure of a nuclear bomb that creates an explosion, that creates, again, it's a nuclear, it's N-E-U, it's N-E-W, play, C-L-A-Y, or clear, C-L-E-A-R, nuclear. So an expectation allows you to nuclear. So you can see the new you clearly. And if you can see it, you can be it. Now, underneath the nuclear, which is the molecular mass, which is matter, is 126 and 243. So you got iodine, 146, americium, 243, together, 369. So when you understand that mass is made up of these two nuclear explosions that take place inside of the mental statement, that means when you collapse based upon your expectation. So expectation, if I expect something to happen, my brain takes me to a nuclear bomb. Yeah, I become a nuclear weapon. An explosion happens, a plutonium explosion happens in my brain. So that way now I can see my new lane. So without that expectation, none of this stuff happens. So the most important thing to collapsing waves is to set your expectation. We call that a mindset. And it's difficult to do because we got a lot of options. It's very hard for most people to really surrender or drop the resistance to manifesting, to really convince your conscious mind that I choose this. It's hard to drop your current reality for the new clear. And once you understand the element, L means God, ment means mental. The God of the mentals is she only shows up when you collapse the waves. So you must consciously create your reality with your ment, your statement. Simply means that the conscious mind collapses because you have an expectation. What if you don't have an expectation? What if you're just saying, I hope this is working out? I don't know if it's going to work, Doc. I'm just going to try it because you don't have an expectation. So the problem is the way by which we expect. So what Nikola Tesla figured out that underneath this was something that was extremely, let's use the word non-existent from the perspective of talking about it. So it was a word that was like, it's like the word act in these. If you look at it from the way that it is spelled, it looks like the word act in these. And it's a word that doesn't even come up on the dictionary. There is a word that is similar to it. Let me pull that one up.
Actinide.
One more time.
Actinide.
So actinide, act in IND or D's, is another way of looking at these two words. So actinide, and the other word is collagen, which we've already, we mentioned that word many, many times before. So we're going to be breaking down both of those words from a molecular structure, and we're going to be revealing, explaining, illuminating, and simplifying the power, for lack of a better term, the impact that they have on being able to tune into one particular radio station at the expense of all of the other radio stations, because that radio station is really already playing. You just, in other words, the radio station that we're going to be tuning into, for lack of a better term, is the electrical magnetic bandwidth that's lying dormant inside of your DNA. So all we're going to be doing in the next series is waking you up to your original, let's say if your family has a family radio station and you never heard about it, you don't know nothing about it, and it's, everything about you and your family, your lineage and your history is on, let's say, Channel 13. And you always watch, you never watch Channel 13, you always watch Channel 4. Excuse me. All your life, Channel 13 exists. You just prefer Channel 4. You just watch the news on Channel 4. Now, when we look at it from one of the ways of looking at it is there are 7 primary rays, color rays. That's kind of the electrical magnetic band that you're supposed to tune into. Like me, nobody told you that, hey, you supposed to, like me, Life Past 6, I'm supposed to tune into, the color ray 6. Now, it's interesting because when we look at it and we think about it, there's one ray, color ray, for each of the numbers. But we don't really look at the chemistry or, again, the psychology of color. Because color is hue. Hue is a wave. There is a specific frequency for each color. Nobody really talks about the frequency of color. We see red, we see that. So when we look at this word again,
Actinide.
It's actinide, and the other word is the HALOGEN, which means holy or hollow genes. Well, it is that is a specific series that comes from another word. Another word, let me pull that word up. Again, we're going to break all of this down during the series. Let me see what's the other word. There we go. Lanthanide. Lanthanide. Now, again, Nikola Tesla knew that there was an element called lanthanide that's not on the periodic table. It is a subatomic particle of another particle called americium. Now, lanthanide actually comes from the word lantern or a lantern, which means a light. Now, lanthanide, probably go a little bit further than I need to go, but I need you to understand the importance, whether you take the series or not. You have to, you got to take the series. Because then you get into lanthanum. Lanthanum. And this is lanthanum, which is a part of the minerals that determine our materials. So your mineralization determines your materialization. But really, what we're really talking about is this word LANTHAN, which means to escape notice. Here you can go to dictionary.com and look all of this up. It means literally to be in a position where you are not seen, to escape notice, the ability to lie unseen. So remember, the seen comes from the unseen. All of this is the result of, so we're going to be talking about the mental state that allows you to be able to tap into the unseen. That's what the big G hang out. So the big G hang out in the unseen. So now remember, that is the the unseen, that means American. Let's just say America. So it's the word AM. So that word AM, let's just say it's America. You know, it's American. And then that's all underneath a specific series of mineralization or elements that's underneath actinide. So it's weird that it has a word, but then it has another word that tells you what that word really means. But nobody really looks up the words underneath it, which is why it has laid hidden for, again, I've never heard anybody break this down to this level. Now, the next word for the word I, that word comes from a very interesting word. Again, halogen. Let me break it down again. And that word halogen, Halogen, is for the English, for the letter I, or the word EYE. Now, that is an electro element, but it's made up of a group of binary salt, or salts, which we'll be breaking down, which is why this is so important. So this is what happens, remember, on a chemical and a biological level when you say, I am. So when you say that term, I am, molecularly something happens. The first thing that happens is when you say I, Halo, that's what the halo. And it's interesting because when you go and you do the research on this word and all of these words, again, which it means circle around the sun or the moon, halo. But halo really means a grain or a shield. It's a grain or acting like a shield. Then you keep going underneath that, you get the word salt. And so Jesus is always depicted with a halo because he's talking about that you have something inside of your body that's a sodium and potassium pump. So Nikola Tesla understood the power of salt and minerals to produce a particular mental disposition that powers the brain so that way you can put unlimited energy out of thin air. You can put unlimited energy out of your creativity. So during this series, we're going to get deeper into those two words on a biological level that has to do with cell salts, for the word I. So there's something, science says, everybody knows this, and there are a lot of people that don't. The human body works off of sodium. All your energy comes from the sodium and potassium pumps that's inside the body. And so we got to break that down because nobody really talks about making sure that you get enough. In fact, when we go to the doctor, like people, when I go out to eat, and people look at the amount of salt I put on my food, they are all astonished. People tell me that all the time, like, damn, bro, you don't get high blood pressure. My blood pressure has never been anything other than 120/80. Every time I go to the doctor, my blood pressure is always perfect. And I eat, and I don't know nobody that eats the amount of sugar that I eat or salt that I eat. And I don't know if you guys remember, and I was telling you guys, hey, watch the movie, that series way back in the day. What was it called? And basically, he was talking about, a guy, he was an angel. His name was Gabriel. It was a series, it came on TV. It's like, I think it was a low budget, but because it was old. It's like, probably like made in the 80s or something. Anyway, the angels, every time that he got, the way he regenerated himself was he ate a bunch of sugar. They showed him in the movies with coffee, and he just kept pouring buckets and buckets of sugar. And he was always eating donuts. Same shit I eat. Since 13. Been doing the same thing. Then I saw it in the movie. The way that you generate celestial tissue. Because the body uses glucose for fuel. But it also uses salt for power. For the brain. So there's different fuel sources. You can use sodium and you can use sugar or glucose. So during this series, we're going to be breaking down these halogens. We're going to break it down these, what I call act in these, so you understand that you need to act in a certain frequency wave of operation. That's where Tesla get the magnificence of the number 369. Because then we go further, because now we got to break down the numerology of these words and the numbers of these words, and understand that on a molecular level, molecular and metal, because these are like trace, like these are metals, except for like iodine. You got to break down especially the molecular and the health benefits of both, but specifically iodine. I remember when I was a kid, I cut myself. My grandmother would go get some iodine. I don't see people doing that anymore. And iodine, and you would rub it on my cut when I was a kid. And so we got to break down. Okay, well, why? How come nobody talks about iodine anymore? How come that, like, I don't see no commercials, I don't see no books, I don't see nobody talking about the health benefits, we put it that way, of something like, iodine. So we got to break that down. Because once you understand that, okay, there's something that they're not telling us. If this was one of the most important things for Tesla, one of the, like, arguably the brightest mind ever existed, arguably, of course. So what does these two things, I am, have to do with matter? Well, all matter, as we will be breaking down during the series, is an emanation of a single geometrical pattern. And this pattern is the crystallized form of vibrational consciousness. So a sound, a phonon, and a photon combined. It's like a musical note. And everything on this planet comes out of this, some call it, what's the Egyptian word? Merkaba. There we go. Merkaba. So Mer, if I remember, is light, Ka is spirit, Ba is body. Merkaba. But it creates a sound. Well, comes to find out, the I and the M creates a sound that activates the acoustic records. So we're going to be talking about the acoustic field. That is what you and I call, or what science calls, empty space. So empty space is now not empty. It's a sea of fluctuating entities or energies from which all things come. So that's why science says your DNA is you got like all this 90% junk DNA. You got all this junk DNA. Because protein are instructions. So proteins is what can be measured. Power can't. So what we're going to be breaking down is power. God's power. We're going to be breaking down really from, again, as much as we're able to understand based upon the information and what I've gathered over the years. We're going to be breaking down everything that is connected to the source, to the higher self-communication through, again, a lot of different words: God, source, pleroma, thinking stuff, ether. There's a lot of different terms and labels that people come up with. But on a molecular level, the thing that blows me away is this on the periodic table. You can look it up on the periodic table. You can't really, people are going to always, everybody's going to argue and debate. That just comes with the territory. And that's okay, because everybody's entitled to their own opinion. We're not here to try to save anybody. We're not here to try to convert. At least I'm not. I'm not here to try to convert anybody. I'm not here to try to convince anybody of any of the information that I've shared in the previous series and the current series. What I am presenting to you is, cosmological, theological, and biological, fact that has been put into stone in most cases, or some type of a parchment, or it was some kind of way saved and passed on. And now this information from, again, this is primarily chemistry for the next 3 days. And I'm just like you. I'm not really interested in chemistry. I just like, paying my light bill on time, operating with a love of self, being an asset to myself, my family, my community, treating other people the way that I want to be treated, being able to detect these negative habit patterns, these jinns, genies, sprites, mojos on another planet, preferably eons before they show up. So that way I get out of the way, and if somebody else, and I try to warn everybody else, and if you want to stand in front of the truck, okay, it's on you. So every morning I wake up, my intent, remember that word, and so these halogens, they are a group of let's use the word metallic chemical elements that's on the periodic table. And we're going to go through these. There's at least 5 of them. It's F, it's CIBR, I for iodine, then AT, and then TS, tungsten. So we're going to break down. These are called halogens. But halo really is halogens. So they produce what we call sodium. The body runs off of sodium. You have sodium pumps. And so it's interesting because I gave you your 12 cell salts. You got 9 of them from your mother in the womb. But the other cell salts, you got to produce mentally, or you must ingest. So Nikola Tesla understood the power of cell salts. For whatever reasons, Nikola Tesla understood the power of making sure that he was exposed to these highly radioactive elementals that exist in nature. They just hard to find in nature, but you can find them. Then Nikola Tesla took it to a whole nother level, and he, some kind of way, was able to understand these actins, how do you pronounce that word, that we mentioned earlier, which is another word underneath that, which is that lanatin or that lanatide, which is another word for like a lantern. So this salt becomes a lantern or a light. The Bible even has a scripture that talks about if the salt loses its flavor. Do you remember what happened to Lot's wife when she looked back, when they told her not to look back? She turned into a pillow of salt. She turned into a pillow of sugar. So what is it about this salt that nobody understands, at least I haven't heard people break down molecular magnificence, if you can use that term, of how these salts should be, or can be, I don't say should be, not only increased or activated by your diet, but more importantly, your mental disposition. So this series for me is one of the most profound series because it really helps you to understand, because remember, the way the quantum realm works is all of its secrets are invisible to you if you are invisible to them. It's like God does not reveal himself to you unless you reveal yourself to him. How? Observation. Do you know that quantum physics does not work for you unless you are aware of it? Waves do not collapse unless you look at them. Your quantum, none of the stuff I'm talking about, the ghost particles, neutrinos, all the stuff that I talk about, it doesn't work for nobody. Because you can hear it, but unless you look at it. What do I mean by look at it? That means you observe it. What do I mean by observe it? Remember, energy flows where attention goes. Energy flows where attention goes. If you give it your attention, it gives you its attention. The fact that you don't give it attention, it doesn't give you attention. So none of this shit that we talk about is going to work for you because you don't work for it. What do I mean? As soon as this show's over, you go back to watching Love and Hip Hop and the Basketball Wives. I mean, not you personally, but, because you don't. So this shit is not important. And I get it. I mean, I understand it. But remember, I'm a 33. So that means I'm a didactic teacher. That means I got to have that bakilas. That means I got to go down to the deep, to the nitty gritty. I got to go down where, where Lucifer lives. The devil is in the details. But God's in the details too. Because anyway, the devil's there, God's there. Because the devil is God's B-I-T-C-H on a leash. So my job is to over and understand that the element of expectation is required because your expectation is based upon the image of what you want that you visualize in your head. So you can say whatever. You can declare what you want. You can make it in a mental statement. You can talk about it. You can pray about it. You can do all of that great business. But unless there is a mental picture that has collapsed, preferably from a vocalization, your declaration of what you want is a statement of intent. It's a statement of intent. It's a statement. It's a mental state based upon what? Declaration. Your declaration. So what this is what we're going to be talking about. Because when you make a declaration, you actually force a manifestation to occur. Now we're going to look at the I am because that's a declaration. You saying I am. You ain't asking nobody. You ain't hoping. You ain't wishing. You ain't calling your reverend, your doctor, and bishop. You saying past tense, bro, I am. So when you make that statement, okay, what's happening in the spirit realm? When you declare and decree, but the Bible says, you say to that mountain, be thou removed and be cast into the sea, the mountain got to get the beep up of it. It got to go. That's the power of the I am statement. Nikola Tesla knew that. So Tesla knew that the actual force of manifestation, and actually for that force, that power source, the all-knowing, all-thinking, all-present, all-simple, all-love to show up, for it to occur, for it to really work, oh, bruh, you got to collapse waves and the particles with the element. You got to use elementals. And they hide in something called expectation. And expectation means that you make a statement of something that you expect. In fact, that it's past tense. You just let everybody know what's coming, a.k.a. because it's already here. So all you doing is saying that I want to make you aware, so I'm releasing sodium and potassium because I'm declaring it. I'm declaring and I'm decreeing, which means that I'm picturing, I'm commanding, I'm calling those things that are not as though they were. That's the element of expectation. And so by repeating it, plus holding the image of what you are repeating in your mind, bruh, that's a powerful, powerful combination for building a template, an electrical magnetic template. It's a blueprint. It's a crystallization. It's Christ. When you do that, then what happens is you just now have established a particularization of a unlimited manifestation. So you unlock the limitless potential of the mind. You literally tap into singularity. And you make that single point of consciousness 98.5. You got all of the radio stations. You can start from 0.001 or 0.000. Some people say you can even start negative in numbers. But you look at all of them from 0 all the way up through 9.99999. And you detach from all of the other options. And you choose. You select. You collapse. You consciously create your reality. Consciously. The moment that you consciously, then you create the power. So you cannot create when you're not conscious on what you are doing. You can only create when you're conscious. Because otherwise you're on autopilot. Shit just happens. You ever drive home, you just show up home, you don't remember how you got there? You just made that trip so many times that you leave work, and the next thing you know, you're at home because your brain was somewhere else. So you must be conscious that you are a creator and that you really are being, or what you are living is really being created by you. So you must be conscious that you have the power to create. And because you're conscious of the power, you have the power. Because you're conscious of the quantum, you have the quantum. Because you're conscious of blank, you have blank. If you're not conscious of blank, you cannot have blank. You cannot be conscious of that which you do not possess. So my job is to make you conscious. That's what consciousness is the key. That's why if you notice every show we talk about consciousness. We talk about expanding your consciousness. So what does that mean? Awareness and perception and perspective. Because what happens? You must be conscious of your power. That's why I keep that. What is your self-image? If you're not conscious of your higher self, then you cannot be your higher self. Extremely important. You must be conscious that you have power in order for the power to have you. Out of everything that we've talked about today, brothers and sisters, the reason that we're going through this next year's I am, you must be conscious that you are I am, and that you really create your reality by being I am. So you must be conscious that you have the I am power to create. And because you are conscious that you have the I am power to create, you have it. Because you have whatever your conscious is, whatever you're conscious of. So your job is to make sure that you are always conscious that if it is to me, if it is to be, it is up to me. And that's what we will be doing for the next 3 days. Again, start on Sunday. We'll probably do another intro tomorrow as well to go a little bit deeper into some of the other things that we're going to be talking about. Because again, we're just going to touch on the chemistry and the biology of it, but I want to spend more time touching on and like really, really explaining the science of manifestation based upon over an understanding that once you tap into the chemical elements that's inside of the periodic table, then you literally have what they call a electronic and magnetic configuration that has what they call a high diversity of oxidation. That means that you become highly, I'm going to use the word attractive. Now, the chemicals inside of the body literally bombard the cells to create a reaction. And so that's why, and that's how D-wave computers work. That's how the quantum realm works. So you work the exact same way that quantum computers work, and it's through what is called a annihilating process. It's kind of like the process of elimination. You go through all of the options, you eliminate the ones that are not yours, you collapse the wave on the particle that is the most beneficial based upon your numbers. That's why I'm successful. So I look at it every day. I wake up. I look at, okay, I can write a book about this. I can do a show about this. I can do about this. And so my brain automatically, because I already said I am an individual expression of God on earth. I say that on every show. Y'all been listening? When y'all wake up, hey, what's going on? My high vibrational individual expression of God on earth. So I call you guys high vibrational individual expressions of God on earth. That means I'm collapsing the waves as a individual expression of God on earth. That's my expectation. So with that, because I declare it and I decree it through repetition, I keep saying it, I got a mental picture in my head. In my head, I see myself as God's ambassador on earth. Honestly, like for real, like no BS. I really believe that I'm here representing God on earth. Because of my religious belief, I stopped fighting with religion because I couldn't say I am God. It was just, I was taught to worship God. So I had to find a way through the back door. Even though I read all the scriptures, remember Psalms, we read it in John, it's in there, ye are gods. I had so much religious dogma, I was getting too much pushback from my own self. So I have to find a scripture that says, say, therefore we are ambassadors of Christ. And I loved it because this is what set me free. Let me close with Second Corinthians. Because if you can understand this, you get the same freedom. 2 Corinthians 5:20. When you look at 2 Corinthians 5:20, it really, for the people that struggle with it, I know I did, because my self-esteem was just too low. I couldn't go from being Portland, Texas to being God walking around on earth. My brain kept telling me, nigga, if you God, okay, make a tree. So my brain was fighting me every day. So I couldn't be God. I was well done. You know, I was a sinner on my way to hell. So how am I going to go from being a fucking sinner to being God? So that's why when I meet people, it's hard to tell people you're an individual expression of God. I finally got to the place where I could accept that. So but where I started off at, this is where I started off at.
Strong's G 4243. Presbuo.
Because it tells me right there in the Bible. Because remember, when I started my journey, I was a Bible thumper. I mean, I was like, yeah, I would cut you for Jesus. I mean, I was down for the cause, you know what I'm saying? Jesus in, Jesus out, bruh. It wasn't no game, homie. Okay, that was a little extra. Okay, my bad. So 2 Corinthians 5:20 tells me, now then we are ambassadors. So that word ambassador, I look it up, Brother Jesse. It means to be older. To be older by age, or to be older in an age. So I was like, okay. It means to be senior. Then I kept reading Brother Jesse, and it says to be a representative. Now there's the word representative too. So I'm supposed to be an older representative. But then I looked up underneath that word.
G 4245. Presbuteros.
Presbuteros. Where we get the Presbyterians from. Presbuteros is almost the exact same spelling as the word in English for Presbyterian. So I was like, okay, I can be a Presbuteros. What the fuck is that? So, but the minute I looked up Presbuteros, and it meant to be the elder. It means to be advanced in life, forefather, rank, high rank individual. Those who are in separate managed public affairs or administrating of justice. Presbuteros. Where we get the English word Presbyterian. So from that perspective, I was able to put myself in a space where I wanted to be the senior Presbuteros ambassador, and the two words that stood out, or the one word that really stood out for me was representative. So since it didn't have that word, the definition inside of that verse that we just read in, what was that, Second Corinthians, because remember, everybody has the same problem. Doc, I can't be a individual expression of God on earth, brother, because I'm a worthless sinner. You don't know what I'm saying. You don't know what I did, brother. It's for the other people, not me, bro. So I had the same problem that pretty much everybody else on this call has, and that is a lack of self-worth. You just, and it is what it is. That's what I'm saying, man. You gotta look the gift horse in the mouth. You gotta address the elephant in the room. What's the smoking gun? What's the base? Why am I doing a series on I am? Because I don't give a fuck what nobody tells you. You can't be what you can't see. So I'm telling you, you're an individual expression of God on earth. I'm telling you, you are a high vibration. I'm allowed to keep it on. And you said, no, I'm not. My mama said I was, if I was so great, how come my wife left me for Jim Bob? Or how come I made so many mistakes? Y'all know how we do. Why do you think so many people like artificial intelligence images? People use that, and I've yet to do one. Shit, how the fuck am I change the way I look? I love the way I look. I don't need no augmented reality, bro. I'm good. So you got to remember, why would they put something to make you look like something that you're not? Because what does that imply? What is the psychology behind change? Like, people don't really understand the psychology. Before you do anything, ask yourself, what is the psychology behind what a dominant culture is promoting blank? If a movie come out, what is the psychology behind the movie? I always ask, and source always gives me the true end game. If the government comes out with a program that benefits you, I'm just going to give out free money. Everybody's going to line up. Very few people going to ask, why would the fuck would the government give me free money? They've been trying to kill me all these years, and now all of a sudden, they've been never. Y'all see what's going on in California? They're trying to give all the black people in California, slave reparations. Fucking California is bankrupt. They didn't got money. But they will give a Negro, I heard some crazy number like $1 million. This was just for reparations. It's like when I went to small claims court and got sued. I didn't even show up. So obviously the judge, this was like, 30 years ago. I didn't even show up. It was something stupid that my daughter had did. So the parents of the other girl sued us, me, and they won. The judge awarded them, I don't even know what the damages was. How much money did they get? They still waiting. 0. So yeah, I could declare or decree anything. We're going to enforce it though. See, it's not about laws. It's about enforcement. Right? It's not what you got. It's what can you keep. I keep telling everybody, y'all got to focus on not trying to get. You got to focus on trying to keep. Meaning what? Meaning underneath all of the stuff we've been talking about today, the whole purpose of the series tomorrow, Monday, is
representative.
Oh yeah, that dude right there, or that dudette.
Representative.
A representative is a person or thing that represents another, an agent or deputy. Damn. Shit, just blew my mind right now. So a representative is a person that represents. You're standing or acting in the place of another. Representative means to represent. The word represent means to serve as a designate, to stand in for, to denote, to be the symbol of, to express, to use the same terms, character, symbols, or the like. Representative. It simply means that you are going to bring about or make something present. The word representative actually means to represent. Damn. So remember, you are God's Big G. After people over there. Do you guys remember in the movie Jupiter Rising, and they said that the girl was they didn't use the word replica. Do you remember the word Jupiter ascending? It was Jupiter ascending? I was missing it. Jupiter Rising, anyway. And everybody was worshiping this girl who on Earth, she was a janitor. But she was some kind of Anunnaki queen. Because they said that she was the direct which means to return. It means to bring about something immediately. So that means you are to bring about God immediately. You're here to make God present. The word rep means to return. The word present means being, existing. Man, I hope to God you fucking understand what I just said. You, brother, you, sister, are the return of a being that existed a trillion years ago. Still does. You are the recurrence. That's that word. That's what they use. Thank you, Big G. She was the recurrence. That's you. You are the I am statement means that you are the recurrence of God. We all are the recurrence of God. That means that we are returning being and existing. God's in you. He's acting as you, manifesting himself to the world as you. You God. Now, I know that's rough. We just broke down the word ambassador that said the same thing. The word, so I'm an ambassador of Christ. That means that I'm Christ. I'm his recurrence. That means that I'm his attributes and characteristics. God's DNA, Christ's DNA is in me, so my body is acting as a representative. That means I'm the return of Christ. No, I don't worship Christ. Bruh, I am Christ. Y'all gotta stop playing. The average Negro, he just tapped out about 5 minutes ago. So guess what? I love y'all anyway. Ain't nothing y'all can do about it. We're going to see you guys later on tonight. Assalamu alaikum. Alaikum salam. Tell him, brother Osama. Break it down for him, bro. All right, y'all. See you guys later.